selling 1.5, exporting 1.5 million barrels. They did about 1.1, a little bit less than 1.1 before the war. Back then, they were selling the oil at $65 with an $18 discount, meaning 47. At least of 2 days ago, they were selling at 110 with only $2 to $4 discount. So the war has been, I'm not saying the war is great for them in any way, shape, or form, but it's de facto ended up becoming a sanctions relief for them. So the idea that they would agree to end the war and go back to actually having sanctions on them, I find very unlikely. And the third factor, I think I already told you on the previous show, if they don't get sanctions relief, they're going to be in a state of continuous weakening. If they get weaker, in their view, they will just get attacked again.
Exactly. Good point. And last quick question, no limits on Iran's missile program going forward. Is that
it's
possible
not even going to be on
accept that?
Yes, absolutely. Because I cannot see the United States. I mean, could there be some limits in which the Iranians go back to and voluntary limiting it so it doesn't reach Europe, it doesn't reach the United States? Obviously, they don't even have that capacity at that point. Yes, there could be that. The idea that they would go back so they can't reach Israel, of course not. The only reason why they have a deterrence at this point is because of their missiles. The idea that this country would give up their deterrence, their only deterrence, to two countries who have attacked them twice in the middle of negotiations, this is completely inconceivable. So I think any serious effort by the US to get out of this war will drop this stuff about the missiles.
Trita, always an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Israeli government mounted a sustained campaign to entice Donald Trump into a war with Iran. It assured Trump that once the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was assassinated, the fragile edifice of the Iranian Islamic State would crumble and a new pro-Western government would replace it. Part of this campaign also included manufactured plots to convince Trump that Iran sought to assassinate him. "I got him before he got me," Trump told a reporter when asked about his motives for authorizing the killing of the supreme leader on February 28th. Joining me to discuss the campaign to convince Trump to go to war with Iran, something Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has unsuccessfully tried to get past administrations to do for decades, is Max Blumenthal, the editor of The Gray Zone. Max is also the author of Republican Gomorrah, Inside the Movement That Shattered the Party, The Management of Savagery, and Goliath, Life and Loathing in Greater Israel, a book that, despite being nearly 500 pages long, was so captivating and so well reported, I finished it in a day. So, Max, there's been long pressure on the Trump administration. In your article in The Gray Zone, you say this goes back to the very campaign itself. Explain how that worked. He was, of course, surrounded by pro-Israel advisors, both in his first term, figures like Bolton, and in his second term. But just lay out
Hello, welcome in. What's your name?
I'm Brianna.
Brianna, how old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia.
And what do you do?
I work in finance. I'm a financial analyst, and I also am a. I'm sorry.
You're doing good. Keep going.
I work in events planning and logistics. I'm sorry.
Nice. And so what are some things you like to do for fun?
Okay. Firstly, I like to travel. I've currently, to date, have been to 25 countries. Yes, thank you. And I also love going to concerts. I love live instrumentation, jazz music, things of that nature. So concerts are something I really enjoy.
Okay, nice. And so now what are some things you look for in a man?
Firstly, God-fearing. I like someone who is confident in himself, someone who's really family-oriented, and a gentleman, firstly.
Okay, that's good. And what are some of your deal breakers?
Deal breakers, liars. I wouldn't be able to tolerate a liar. Also, someone who's just not secure himself in his future.
Okay, that's not too good. Okay.
Well, we got another one, y'all. I would say she look good. I like the look of her.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
The script is still the same: travel, God-fearing, things of that nature. It seems like she's really about the traveling. Oh yeah, based off the story highlights, we got Panama, Jamaica, Dubai, Iceland, Doha, London. Oh yeah, she does it for real. She really be traveling for real. Bro, I was just in Aspen. Let me know if you want my vlogs back again. Usually when I go on vacation, bro, I try to just relax and not be on cam. But if you want me to start picking up the camera when I go on vacation, let me know. Because I was just in Aspen and I snowboard for the first time. I was busting my ass, bro. It's not easy. It look easy when I be seeing other people do it, but it's like the taller you are, the harder you fall, boy.
He ain't lying.
But she seemed very classy, very demure, very aesthetically pleasing. But I learned all these new terms from just watching this show, man. Aesthetically pleasing, very classy. My type on paper, looking at.
Sensational.
Okay. Body T. Tough. No plan is the best plan. I might have to disagree with that one. Hell no, you gotta have a plan. And based on what you said, what you're looking for in a man, for your man to have an idea what he's gonna be in the future, wants to be, guess what that needs? A plan.
That's good. Okay. So no pop balloons. Off to a good start. So I'm going to hand you a pick, but just hang on to it. We won't do not any popping just yet, but go ahead and ask them a question first.
Interesting. First question.
What is a childhood memory that has shaped your present-day life?
Let's start there and come back this way.
Good question.
A childhood memory that has shaped their present-day life. So name and age first.
My name's Darius. I'm 32 years old. And a memory would be, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club a lot, and we used to shoot bow and arrows and swim and zip line and stuff like that. So that's what comes to mind.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you.
Nice.
Your name and age and the answer to your question.
So my name is Mondi, 29. I would say the times I'll be outside with my family, like our get-togethers, like our family cookouts, really shaped me as a person. So, yeah.
Thank you. Your name and age and the answer to her question.
I cannot think of nothing as a child. Definitely a lot of memories. I'll just say like attending a Million March in Washington, D.C. when I was a baby, getting lost around a lot of people and then just standing still and then getting found by my parents later. I just never could like forget about that moment. But, you know, just standing still sometimes, you know, being present and not veering off.
Okay. Hey, you made it work. Your name and age and the answer to her question.
My name is Karen. I'm 28. Can you just repeat that question one more time?
What's one childhood memory that shaped your present-day life?
That's a tough one.
Okay, take your time.
Can you just come back around? Nah.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll come back. All right, your name and age and the answer to her question.
Yeah, Dalen, 29. And to answer your question, for me, it was more so of a series of that, just growing up watching my mom work her ass off, like to make sure I was good. It's really what instilled me to be a hardworking man in general. Just seeing the sacrifices she made and just knowing like no matter what, I should never give up on myself. So that's one of the things I'll never do. I'll never quit on myself for anybody I love.
Nice.
So that's one of my childhood memories that shaped who I am.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's come on back. Hope you got something now. Let us know.
I got something.
Okay.
I would say just my grandpa and grandma, they were very generous. So if they would come visit me, like they'll always give me like money and stuff like that. I'm also Haitian. It's a Haitian thing, I would say, maybe, but that's something I would say like kind of like shaped me to like the person that I am. Like they're very generous.
Okay, thank you.
You'll let me know in the comments too. What's something in your childhood that shaped you to become who you are today? You know, I love to communicate and get in tune with my viewers.
My nigga.
But for me though, I remember this like it was yesterday. 8th grade basketball tryouts in school. Boy, I thought I was better than almost 60% of that gym, but I didn't make the team. And that broke my heart. I was crying after tryouts, and I was looking around, and I'm seeing that most of the people that made the team had some type of connection with the coaches. And I'm like, but I'm better than them though. So seeing that taught me that in life, you can have all the skills, be hardworking, be hella qualified, but if you don't have that connection with the people in position, you ain't gonna go nowhere. So in life, connection and who you know is more important than actually working hard. So he just taught me that to never give up on myself, because trust me, that summer I trained extra hard. So hard work do pay off too. That taught me that too. Hard work also pays off, because that summer I sharpened my iron and I came back the next year and I made the team till my senior year and graduating, and I played a little bit in college. So that 8th grade, missing that tryout really helped me understand that life ain't fair, and also hard work do pay off in the long run. But you also got to be smart about it. It's good to work hard, but you also got to work smarter, not harder. If you got to like bump shoulders with the coaches, or you have to do that even in the corporate world, in the jobs. You will see somebody that don't do nothing at work get the promotion. You be like, what the hell? I've been here for 5 years and this dude just got here and all of a sudden he's over me. Why is that? He knows somebody. I know that was long, my bad. Bruh. Just a life lesson, man. I felt that question, so I'm glad she asked that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we did get a pop balloon over here. Let us know why you ended up popping your balloon.
I just didn't really see myself with her, to be honest. I'm gonna be straight up. Like, I just don't see a future with her. Beautiful, amazing. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else. Just can't see myself with her. That's it.
So there's nothing, just from what you've heard.
No, y'all do good. I mean, she's beautiful. Yeah. She's beautiful. Yeah.
All right.
Intimidating.
So now, is he someone that's your type?
No, he's not.
Okay, and why not?
The height.
The height.
I mean, stepping stool can fix that.
You gonna walk around with a stepping stool everywhere?
Have it ready.
All right.
But yeah,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
All right, let's head on back this way.
All right.
So we now have 4 unpopped balloons. Go ahead and ask them another question.
What is one thing from your past that you would change?
Okay, one thing from your past that you would change. They're all thinking.
Good or bad?
Good or bad, okay. Let's let them think a little bit. Let them think a little bit. Okay, you ready? Let's start here. All right, your name and age and the answer to her question.
Dalen, 29, and I think the one thing that I would change, and good or bad, I'm gonna just do good. Actually, I'm gonna do bad. I think I would have tried a little bit harder in my academics growing up. That's about it. I've seen, people go so far and beyond just because of, where they went to college and all that kind of stuff. And for me, it just felt like I had to pick myself up, which I'm used to. But essentially, I wish I would have done more so like academic stuff back then to kind of watch my future continue to grow now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, your name and age and the answer to her
Stay in
question.
school, kids.
My name is Kern. I'm 28. I would say just be more financially smart, because if you have a foundation early on, down the line, it would set the precedence for a great stability financially wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
The younger you invest,
Your name and
the
age
better
and
the
answer to her
future will be.
question.
Elijah, 28. Investing definitely. Just putting my money into things and watching it grow, just learning. I read books and things like that, so learning at a young age, but not taking action on it, and also just saying no to just people that come to my life and try to take. So just saying no.
Good. All right, and what about over here? Name and age and answer your question.
My name's Darius. I'm 32 years old, and I probably would have gotten an edge or a better hairstyle before I got here. So, yeah, that's what I would do different.
Okay, thank you.
Damn, my boy Darius self-conscious now. Because for those of y'all who didn't watch the previous videos, is a lot of the girls pop this balloon because, quote unquote, they prefer a man with a neater hairstyle, I guess. This is why I was telling my boy Darius, man, don't ask why they popped and what's wrong with you. It don't matter. Trust me, you gotta be happy with yourself. If you like your hair, you like it. Don't change for nobody.
Okay, let's head on back. So, go ahead and pop one balloon. Ooh. Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. No, you can stay right over here. All right. So why was your balloon unpopped?
Just very, very beautiful, strong woman, you know what I'm saying? Definitely could see myself going on a date with you and like getting to know you more, stuff like that. So.
All right, cool. Thank you. And why'd you end up popping his balloon?
I popped my balloon. A lot of his answers, he just seemed unsure in the way that he answered them.
Okay. All right. Is that true?
I should have let him go first with the answers because, I mean, I just couldn't articulate it as I wanted to, but that's fine. I understand.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's head on back this
That's
way.
all.
So we now have 3 unpopped balloons. Go ahead and ask them another question.
What is a deal breaker?
What is a deal breaker? Okay, let's start here. What is a deal breaker?
For me, my deal breaker is somebody who can't respect others. Like, I don't want to see you ever be rude to a janitor or just anybody going through something. Treat the janitor like the CEO. Just be a good person at the end of the day. If I can't see you being a good person, you're probably not the person for me.
Okay. Over here, what's a deal breaker?
I would say just being like overly loud and disrespectful. Like if we go out to a restaurant and they get the order wrong, like, yeah, you could be like stern, but not like disrespectful. Because, yeah, I don't like that.
Gotcha.
So basically the same thing he said.
Okay, what's a deal breaker?
So a deal breaker for me would be not having a relationship with God, not like having connections with your family, having a lot of kids by different men, and you're not creative at all. And yeah.
Okay, all right.
Damn, Darius.
Okay, while we're here, go ahead and ask another question.
Do you have any children?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes,
Cool.
I hope Darius.
What about over here?
wins,
Any
man.
children?
I do have a daughter. She's 6 years old.
And what about over here? Do you have any children?
No kids. Not until marriage.
Any kids?
None.
None kids. Okay, okay. Well, go ahead and pop one more balloon.
Sorry.
We're looking good, Darius. We're looking
All
good. We're
right.
looking
So,
good, my brother.
why was your balloon unpopped?
I like the way she responds. I like you have nice teeth, a nice smile. Very nice teeth, yeah.
Okay, got it. And why'd you end up popping his balloon?
Much of the same. A lot of your answers, you just seemed unsure. And like I said earlier, I like a man with confidence who would be able to stand on anything he's saying.
Gotcha.
Yes,
So
sir.
nervous.
I get it. Me
Yes, thank you.
You got to stand 10 toes and be confident. I think what also like took you out of the game, my brother, you basically stole the first brother's answer with treating the janitor like the CEO. It's kind of the same thing as saying, when somebody gets your order wrong, don't be rude to the waiter or the waitress, whatever. It's the same thing. Yeah, you pretty much gave the same answer as the first brother. Just being, I think, originality took you out of the game also, you know.
So nervous.
I get it.
Love,
Yes, thank you.
love do not cost a thing.
All right, so we've got 2 guys left. Fellas, any questions for her? Oh, you ready? Okay, go ahead.
I'm always ready. Gotta stay ready, so you never gotta get ready. But do I have to say my name and age again?
Yeah.
Okay. Dalen, 29. For me, my question is, What does peace look like for you?
Peace for me, it looks like, that's a good one. Okay. But for me, recently it's been more of an action. Peace for me has been being able to take time off of work, spend time with loved ones, being able to do things that I enjoy instead of constantly being on a go. So that's peace for me right now.
Okay. I got one more question, but you could go back. You can go there. If in a perfect world, what does your life look like? What is it that you want for yourself?
In a perfect world,
Yes,
okay. Firstly, I would like a husband. I'm looking to get married, and much like you, I want a family dynamic before I start having children. My career right now is going pretty well, so I would like to see that progress over time. Those are about the
And you'll get there. I heard you say that you were a financial analyst. I actually work in tech, so I'm a senior account manager for a cybersecurity company. So I think it'd be a good match for us, but I'd rather just stop talking. Let's go see the date.
All right, we'll be back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
Yeah, he's good.
I said let him cook.
You know, the game was tied at the half, 50-50, right? He just went on a 30-point all-run in the third quarter. Like, they put a hell of a performance in the third quarter. That brother was shooting. Perfect execution, I shall say, my brother. But I still want my boy Darius, man. I got faith.
All right, any questions for her over here?
Yes. So what is the next trip that you plan on going on?
trip. I'm actually going to Canada in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm also a travel agent, so I have a lot of group trips coming up, one being to Belize really soon.
Okay. Yeah. I have a cruise set for June. So yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
All right, it is that time.
Oh my God. That's the best you could come up with, bro. You had all this time to think of questions, and the best you can come up with was what's the next vacation you're going to take? I get what you were trying to do, because you heard you love traveling, so you were trying to, But after what you just heard this brother ask, and that's the best you can come up with? Come on, Darius. Sometimes you just do it to yourself, man. Talking about I got a cruise plan.
God have mercy upon us.
I'm still rooting for you, though.
You got to hear a little bit about the guys. They got to hear a little bit about you. But go ahead and pop one of their balloons.
Okay.
I knew it.
All right, almost had it. All right, so why were you hanging on to your balloon?
Because she looked good and she didn't say anything that wasn't in alignment with me. So, yeah.
Nice. Right, got it. And why'd you end up popping his balloon?
I feel like I would have a stronger connection with the other candidate.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Even
Okay, let's head on back this way. All right, join us up here. Come on up. Okay. Any other questions you guys have before we determine if this is a match? If not, that's okay as well.
So you talked about having a family. How many kids do you want?
So, I've always said that I want a starting five and one off the bench. But now that I'm a little older, maybe two.
Okay, that works for me. I'm an only child, so family is something that I really want for myself. I want to be able to give my kids the things that I didn't get growing up, so that's perfect.
Nice.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for him?
All in all, how is your family dynamic? Like, how's your relationship?
I grew up pretty much, so I'm from New Orleans originally, so I moved to Dallas. It's been me and my mom, but she just moved back. So I was kind of distant from my family, but I talk to my cousins from time to time and my granddad. Okay. But I don't have a superb family, but I have a decent-sized family. They're good people. Okay. But I'm trying to think of some restaurants around here.
Okay. We can think about this after this question.
Nice.
So my final question, is it a yes for you for her?
Oh, yeah, what? Yeah, come on.
And is it a yes for you for him?
Yes.
We got a man.
Yeah, give it to him.
I'll take
I
the
would
mic.
say
Go ahead and
superb
get your
performance,
lady. Make
my
some
brother.
noise for them, guys.
Ooh.
Go on up.
Nah, that's one hell of a performance. That brother was. Yeah, he dropped a 50-point triple-double right here. He ended it off perfectly. Yeah, like he did his thing. I shall say, bro. One of the best performances I've seen from my brother on this show in a while. You know, he brought in the kind of like the jokey wittiness. Like, I'm just trying to think of restaurants I can take you at after this. Like he already planning.
Let me check my Palm Pilot. Look like I ain't doing shit.
However much damage we do over there, Iran has tools that can push the Americans into retreat. So, you know, who knows where this leads? Lots of people are like, oh, Trump is looking for an off-ramp. We've been offered off-ramps from so many outrages of the day, off-ramps from trade wars, off-ramps from legal cases. And sometimes he takes them and sometimes he doesn't. And that's the governing style we're stuck with.
Hi, I'm Fergus McPhee, and welcome to the Trump Report. You can watch us every day, Monday to Friday, on our YouTube channel, and you can also listen to the show twice a week as a podcast. And some exciting news from the Trump Report that you can now find us on socials. If you want to get some short-form content from all of our interviews, just search for the Trump Report on either Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Now, joining me today is Justin Wolfers, Professor of Public Policy and Economics at the University of Michigan. Justin, how are you?
Mate, you're on TikTok. Are we going to dance? I'll do it if you do it. You lead, I'll follow.
We're usually only into long form stuff on the Trump Report, so this is a brave new world.
Okay.
Now, Justin, sound the klaxon, because the price of oil has fallen below $100 a barrel. Brent crude, I believe, at the time of recording, is around $94. Now, this sort of came after overnight last night. Donald Trump said that he'd submitted a 15-point peace plan to Iran. Now, he claimed the country wanted to make a deal so badly. The Iranians have, of course, refuted that. What they've said is that the US is negotiating with itself and is trying to dress up defeat as an agreement. Crucially, some Pakistani officials today, because they're sort of acting as a mediator, they have confirmed this morning that the plan has been given to Iran. There's so much spin from both sides, as you kind of expect. They're both talking to their respective bases. Tentatively, from an economics point of view, do you think we might be through the worst of it?
Wow, 15 points. That's a lot of points in a plan. I don't think I've ever seen the White House this thorough. They must be absolutely serious. Now, these are 15 secret points. We haven't seen them, right?
Well, he does. He has a track record of multi-point plans.
Yep. The other thing about 15, not a prime number. That's interesting right there. So much to learn. I'm a little older than you, Fergus, so I want to take you back to the Iraq War. The US invaded Saddam Hussein, and there was a bloke, I can't remember his job, but they called him Baghdad Bob. And he'd come out and is getting blown up all around him. And he would say, our glorious leader is leading us forward to yet another victory. And he was a laughingstock in the United States and all around the world. Baghdad Bob gave commentary that was completely unhinged from reality. I've been thinking a lot about Baghdad Bob because I can't tell what's coming out of Washington is real and what's not. For sure, you know, the initial overtures where Trump said, I've been talking with the Iranians, and the Iranians said, well, no one called us. And there was a question, who do I believe more about the future of the United States? Who do I believe is more likely to level with the American people? Who has greater insight into what the US government is doing? And I was genuinely left with the profound question, is it the American president or is it the Iranian leadership? And that's not just me scoring a cheap debating point. If you actually watched what happened to financial markets, when Trump said something, they went up. And when the Iranians denied it, they went down, which is the financial markets are willing to say there's a substantial chance that the Americans were lying and the Iranians were telling the truth. So maybe we're in a moment where we got Baghdad Bobs on all sides. Truth is the first casualty of war. That makes a lot of things difficult. I think the first thing that it does actually is it undermines the American position. It's very hard. what's absolutely clear is that America can exact more pain on Iran than the other way. But that's not the only thing that determines who wins. It's your ability to withstand pain. And we have leaders in other countries that say there are important things on the line, we must be willing to sacrifice, and so on and so forth. But a president who won't tell the truth, who won't admit that there's pain, who has no tolerance for pain, undermines the American bargaining position, not bargaining, the American position, the America's might, quite substantially. So that was 7 unordered thoughts, none of which answered your question. So let me invite you to actually ask your question again.
Does it, that pain you talked about just then, does it have any bearing, do you think, for this administration that perhaps the US has more power to inflict pain on Iran, but Iran at the moment has more power to inflict pain on the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Does that mean anything to Donald Trump and his administration?
I think absolutely. So you see this, you've seen it throughout the administration when things that Trump values, I don't want to get inside the president's head. I don't live there, thank goodness. But when there are things that the president values that come under threat, whether that's the value of the stock market or his personal popularity or his standing with the base, when those things are undermined, the president is most likely to return to an old word, taco, to seek an off-ramp. And so, you turn on cable news in the United States right now, and all day, every day, it's high gas prices, and high gas prices. So not only that, this is to a population that were promised no unnecessary foreign wars, to a population that was promised America first. And I will say, and I'm totally sincere in saying that, there is something I've always liked about Trump, which was the fact that he hated war. And it appears turnabouts because the fact that I like that about him has led him to do the exact opposite this time. And so it becomes politically less tenable for the president to keep pushing forward. And if that's the case, Iran just needs to, however much damage we do over there, Iran has tools that can push the Americans into retreat. So, who knows where this leads? Lots of people are like, oh, Trump is looking for an off-ramp. We've been offered off-ramps from so many outrages of the day, off-ramps from trade wars, off-ramps from legal cases. And sometimes he takes them and sometimes he doesn't. And that's the governing style we're stuck with.
If you are kind of struggling to make heads or tails of things, I certainly am as a journalist. I'm reading a lot, but, you read something different and then, something else crops up 20 minutes later. How on earth do you expect sort of traders and the markets to keep up with stuff?
Look, there's 2 really important constants that we should have understood before the fact that we understand for sure today. One is the US has enormous military might, greater than any other country on earth, certainly greater than Iran, although it is worth remembering Iran is a country of 90 million people. This is a very serious country. This is not the herd in McDonald Islands, which rolled over during the trade wars immediately.
There is certainly an argument to be made, as we look at it now, that perhaps they have even underestimated Iran's military might.
There's certainly an argument. So, that's a deep factor that's going to be true no matter what. The second one that's true is that Iran is in a strategically important part of the world, that it has access to a particular choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, that it is deeply engaged with a strategically and economically important commodity being oil, but also we've got liquid natural gas on the other side of the straits. We've got a lot of oil derivatives as well. So those 2 things, they're normally what you do is you'd call a foreign relations guy, not an economist. You'd say, oh, look at this, and they do whatever foreign relations guys do and they tell you how things are going to play out. Those guys would always be overconfident because that's what they're paid to be. But what you've been reading and what I've been reading, I imagine, is actually there's one more variable, which is the president's temperament. And normally, if you're thinking about great powers that are strategically informed and are deeply invested in the national interest, if you understand the national interest and you can understand then what a rational player would do, then you can back the rest out, and that would be the end of the conversation. That's not the conversation we're having here. I think that's an appropriate response to how idiosyncratic this administration has been on a range of policy issues. And so it literally means the most important variable is not the trillions of dollars we spend on the military, but the president's mood and disposition and how he wants to express that.
That mood, I want to go back a couple of days to Monday. And I want to just ask you sort of straight, and I explain sort of the figures, because I've seen all the graphs and they are quite stark. Did we see a serious incident of insider trading? I'm sure you know exactly what I'm doing. So you know exactly what I'm going to ask. In the sort of 15 minutes before Trump made that announcement on Monday that he would postpone those strikes on power plants, over $500 million was bet by traders. I think it's 580 million to be exact on oil markets. Of course, after that announcement happened, those fell by 14%. But it wasn't just that. We also saw a similar spike at exactly the same time on the S&P 500. What's your view?
I think this is an overblown story. I think it's one where people are looking for what they suspect is true. I know a lot of people believe there's been a lot of insider trading throughout the administration. There's been direct evidence of it in a couple of cases. In this particular case, I just want to take you back. You know, there's this old saying, you know, if you had a million monkeys typing for a million years, they'd type Shakespeare. I don't quite think that's right. Most of the monkeys I know don't speak Old English. They speak a more modern form. But that's sort of, if what you get to do is, if there were insider trading, first of all, which market would it occur in? Would it be the S&P? Would it be oil? Would it be oil futures? Would it be oil options? Would it be a prediction market? Would it be a specific defense company? So you get to choose many, many indices. Would it be 15 minutes before the announcement, 5 minutes before, the day before, the week before? On and on it goes, right? So all of a sudden you realize that you're looking for one of many things in one of many places with one of many possibilities, and you realize that just through statistical noise, this is like the markets being the monkey that typed out Shakespeare. It doesn't mean they understood Shakespeare. There's another way of describing this, by the way. What you said is someone bought billions of dollars worth of oil futures, someone bought billions of dollars worth of stock minutes before the president made a social media post. It's also the case, therefore, that people sold billions of dollars worth of stock. People sold billions of dollars worth of oil. So do we call that incompetent insider trading? So look, there's a serious way. I've seen these stories come up many times through my career. Whenever something bad happens, someone goes looking. When there's many places to look, you can often find something. What I haven't seen is a serious analysis that says, for instance, between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, for the last 1,000 trading days, how often do we see volume of this order of magnitude? It's a very simple analysis to do. I actually looked to do it. I didn't have the time, but no one's done that. And if they want to make the case, there's a fairly straightforward statistical way of doing it. No one's done it. So for now, I'm going to call this the sort of story that sells newspapers, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Do you think does it look at all uncomfortable for the markets in any way?
That someone sold a lot of stock just before this? Because, see, I want you to remember the other side of the story, right? So all you saw, yeah, it looks uncomfortable. But if you were to do this sort of exercise, let's imagine I just said NVIDIA is the greatest stock ever. Pretend I said that. We could have some people look to see whether there was a bunch of unusual buying of NVIDIA in the 10 minutes before you put this podcast online, in the hour before, in the day before, and on it goes. And I think eventually you'd find some bright spark who'd find something. So, it looks uncomfortable. I think there's a lot of even worse looks. Let's not talk about, look, fine, lovely conversation point, talk it out at your next dinner party. But if you actually want to talk about the real issues, why is Jared Kushner, who's billions of dollars deep in investment in the Middle East, also at the same time negotiating peace deals? That's wrong on its face. We don't need any statistical anything. So corruption is, why is Barron Trump a 19-year-old worth tens and possibly hundreds of millions of dollars. Is he actually that bright? I mean, the guy must be brilliant. The number of 19-year-olds I know who've made millions of dollars in crypto, which of course we know is a totally legitimate business opportunity, completely unrelated to regulation from the White House. We don't need to look for the insider trading. The corruption's right there in front of you.
Okay, let's get back to terra firma then and talk about the impact of some of the data that we do have. I mentioned at the start that the price of Brent crude is now under $100 a barrel, 94, I think I said. Let's just hypothesize that, the war does sort of end tomorrow or this week. That huge shock we've seen, is that the kind of thing that bounces back quickly or takes months and years to bounce back?
So there's lots of layers and lots of answers. So the first thing is they hug it out tomorrow. They say, just kidding, we were friends all along. Let the oil flow. So the first problem is they kept producing oil on the wrong side of the strait, the side where the customers aren't. They've kept producing it until the storage is full. Now the storage is full. So what they've had to do is basically put a lid on it. And the problem is once you put a lid on it, it actually takes a while to start back up. That's somewhat true for oil, profoundly true for liquid natural gas. And so the first thing we have to do is restart everything. Sort of like, every time you restart Windows, it takes between 2 minutes and 3 months. This will be something that takes a couple of months right there. Then you actually have to get it on a boat, and then you have to get it around the world. So you've got a couple of months right there. That's the direct oil effect. The second thing is, if they all hug it out tomorrow, do we just wake up and just forget that anything ever happened? No. Businesses are going to be looking to diversify away from carbon fuels. Yet again, we saw that after the 1970s oil shocks. The geopolitics of this continues to play out. Just as during the trade war, China taught the United States that in an interconnected world, it has leverage. In that case, it was rare earth minerals. Iran has taught the United States that in an interconnected world, it has leverage, this time the Strait of Hormuz. None of that goes away. That knowledge doesn't go away. And our ability to reach out and trust and be trusted, to be a reliable partner in the world who only goes to war as the last possible resort, having tried to talk everything out, all of that changes. That changes military spending for a generation, and it changes international alliances. It reshapes commerce, it reshapes politics, it reshapes geopolitics.
Well, despite a lot of the talk today about peace, sometimes actions do speak louder than words. And while this is all happening, I think we're seeing sort of thousands of the 82nd Airborne Division from the US being sent to the Middle East. I don't want to looking towards peace.
At one level, it's prudent. If the talks don't work, you got you guys there. At another level, why didn't they do that to start with? There was all sorts of ships and boats and aircraft carriers being slowly moved around the world after we bombed Iran. Took them a while to even figure out how to get Americans out of there. So, look, if the administration wants to engage in forward planning, I'm going to be the last person to criticise them. Congratulations. Terrific learning. Love it.
Last time we spoke, we sort of touched on this a little bit earlier. Last time you spoke, I remember you said that the US, of course, wasn't kind of at risk as much from energy shocks because it uses so much of its own oil. Now, obviously, I'm coming to you from London, a country where we don't necessarily have that privilege. And some of the sources that I've been speaking to, some of the more alarming ones, but they've sort of said that there is a potential for fuel shortages, blackouts, and even food shortages here in the UK. And I don't know, I'm struggling to make head or tail of it. I'm struggling to see how I think. Like I said, I do think those are more alarmist projections.
Let me just make two analytic points. I'll focus on oil because it's an easy one to talk about. It's very easy to find a talking head who'll say oil could go to $200 a barrel. It could. But we could also just go to oil price futures and say, you know, for the next month, it's close to $100. And after that, it's coming down to 80 and maybe 70 in a few years' time. And so that says the central scenario is that oil is more expensive than it used to be, but it's not unbelievably expensive. And then around the central scenarios, things could be better and things could be worse. And if all we did is talk to the blokes who said things could be worse, then we'd get only half the story. And so, yes, it's true, oil could go through the roof, but it's also true this could resolve faster. The distribution of risks is, the central estimate usually involves some upsides and some downsides. And so maybe they're saying that sincerely because we should prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Fair enough. Okay, so that's the first point. The worst stories you're hearing are possible but not likely. And then the second thing is people start to talk about shortages. In the US, for instance, people talk about will the local gas station, petrol station, sell out? And the answer is in the 1970s, they did because the prices were regulated. You were allowed to buy gas one day and not the next day. Gas prices weren't allowed to rise, blah, blah, blah. Think about the forces of supply and demand. If lots of people are lined up out the front of a shop, the shopkeeper very quickly realizes that they could jack up their prices, still sell out, and end up more profitable. And so as long as you're not regulating what prices can do, you don't end up with shortages. What you end up instead with is higher prices. And so and along the way, there'll be a few growing pains as someone sets the price not quite at exactly the right rate. And, there is a line that persists for a day or two, but I wouldn't expect shortages. What I would expect is price hikes, and those price hikes can have very real, substantial and important effects.
Would you agree? You've actually led me on to my next question. You didn't happen to see the interview the BBC did with the boss of BlackRock, did you?
I live in the United States, mate.
It was overnight. I think the BBC had an interview. Larry Fink, they sat down with the boss of BlackRock, and he was very punchy on saying that if, and it was an if, the price of oil reaches $200 a barrel, that would trigger a stark and steep global recession.
$200 a barrel, plausible? Yeah. The thing to realize is very different effects in different parts of the world. So Asia is really, really dependent on foreign oil. They basically don't have any. That's why Asian markets have been right on edge. So very bad news there. In Europe, you already went through a first draft of this in 2022 with Russia. And so if it was like that, it went close to putting some countries in recession. If it was like that but worse, it would succeed. The US, we're closer to energy independent. And then you go to the energy producing countries. And if oil is $200 a barrel, like what a fantastic time in Dubai to just put up another big shopping center and another tall building and buy yourself a second Rolls Royce. So different effects in different parts of the world.
Just got one more question for you. I'm really interested to get your take on this. Over the last few days, I've been kind of trying to get deeper into the economics of all this. And I've been following certain economic analysts from the more podcast sphere, let's put it that way. And some people have been making the point, and I found it to be quite a hard sell personally. Some people have been making the point that, if there is a recession, global or in the US, that might be a good thing because, that's an opportunity to reset. I really wanted to get your take on that.
Some idiot says this every recession, and some idiot should be the one who loses their job. And when that happens, that idiot can say whether it's a good recession or not. So I can't remember if I'm allowed to swear on your podcast or not, but no.
Who gets to decide whether something is a good recession or a bad recession?
Just some idiot talking head saying stupid stuff, trying to get noticed. A recession is not good. Look, it could be that what we need to do is move away from our reliance on carbon. Absolutely. Then the question is, are we better off doing it in an orderly fashion where we have sensible regulation, we invest in research and development and so on, or should we crash and burn in a recession and slowly come out of it? The only idiot who says a recession is good is the idiot who thinks they're the one who isn't going to lose their livelihood.
Justin, we always appreciate you on the Trump Report. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, mate.
longer the war with Iran continues, the more the global economy is thrown into crisis. The Iranians have bottled up the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's energy supply is transited. 40% of the oil China imports passes through the strait. Crude oil is now over $100 per barrel, a 45% increase since the war began and climbing. Gasoline prices in the U.S. have jumped by more than 65 cents per gallon. Jet fuel and diesel have surged by 25%. In parts of Asia, including Thailand, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, there are already shortages and long lines at gas stations. Government offices in the Philippines have moved to a 4-day work week. Myanmar's government has imposed alternating driving days. Japan, which depends on the Middle East for 90% of its oil supply, is releasing a record 80 million barrels of oil, about 45 days of supply. India, although permitted by the Trump administration to buy previously sanctioned Russian oil, will be especially hard hit. It is already suffering from a severe shortage of liquefied natural gas. About 84% of the crude oil and 83% of the liquefied natural gas that passes through the strait goes to Asia.